What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another FPL Transfer Talks video on the channel. And in today's one, we are going to be discussing Game Week 16, and I want to start off by talking about some of my favorite striker options to buy in FPL right now. And as you guys can see on your screens, we do have Alexander Isak, Nicholas Jackson, Strand Larsen, and João Pedro. And I want to point out quickly that I've gone for Isak and Jackson as sort of my favorite mid-priced strikers, and I've gone for Strand Larsen and João Pedro as sort of my favourite cheaper budget striker options. Now, I want to start off by talking about Alexander Isak because he is genuinely one of my favourite striker options right now in the game. First and foremost, he is a player in form, right? He's got 5 Premier League goals in his last 6 Premier League starts, so he is a player in form. And what I like about Alexander Isak is it's just the security in minutes, right? The security in minutes I value a lot, especially as we enter a period, right, where there's a lot of fixtures to be played on the weekend and midweek, right? You guys can see here there's fixtures this weekend on Saturday, then Saturday again, but then Thursday, Monday, and Saturday again, right? So you can see there is a bit of a tight fixture schedule for a lot of teams in their Premier League, and I love the security in minutes that Alexander Isak does provide. We know that he's going to start, of course, as long as he's not injured, right? We know he's going to start games. We know he's going to get those 90 minutes. He's on penalties as well. I just like him as an FPL asset. So that's what I like about Isak first and foremost, right? It's the form and the security in minutes, and also the fixtures coming up. I think Isak is a really good long-term hold, and I think this is a good week to buy Isak. It's a good entry point when you've got the fixture of Leicester at home and then Ipswich away after that. So I like the long-term fixtures, but also the short-term fixtures. This is a good entry point, as I said. Of course, this run from 18 to 20 is slightly trickier, but honestly, I think Aston Villa at home is actually a good fixture on paper. I think Isak could definitely get a goal in that game. Manchester United away, as much as they have improved slightly, they do have their deficiencies, and again, I think it's not a bad fixture for Isak. And Spurs away, they always concede goals, right? So I think after this sort of difficult fixture, well, you could argue it's a difficult fixture, but after this fixture period from 18 to 20, you've then got Wolves, Bournemouth, Southampton, Fulham. So I think long-term, Isak is a really, really good option, and that's why I do like him. I think the fixture run is pretty decent, if I do say so myself. So look, for me, Alexander Isak is definitely someone to consider. I just think it's a good time to buy him now, as I said, with the fixture congestion period coming up now, with the minute security, he's in form, the fixtures are looking pretty nice. I do like Isak as an option, so yeah, he is definitely someone to consider in my opinion. And then we also have Nicholas Jackson. I really like him as a long-term pick. For me, it's simple as this, right? When you look at the long-term fixtures, it's just too good to ignore. It really is just too good to ignore. So if you're in a position where you can get Nicholas Jackson, he is definitely someone I'd be looking to get, right? Because starting off with Brentford at home, that's a great fixture. We've seen how poor Brentford are defensively this season, and we've seen how poor their away record is this season, right? They sit bottom of the Premier League table for the away record this season. So this is a good entry point for Nicholas Jackson. Then he's got Everton, Fulham, Ipswich, Palace, Bournemouth, Wolves. Like, I could go on and on and on, but for me, look, it's quite clear. The long-term fixtures are absolutely fantastic. I'd pretty much say from around game week 16 all the way till about game week 28, where he's got Leicester at home, the fixture run is really good for Chelsea and Nicholas Jackson. So I think if you go for him now, it's a good entry point, and you can just keep him in your team. You don't have to worry about him. That's why I do like Nicholas Jackson. But not only that, right, he will get chances in this Chelsea team. Maresca has Chelsea playing some beautiful football where they do create a lot of chances, and Jackson will score goals in this system that Maresca does play with Chelsea. And also, when you look at the expected goals from open play, right, Chelsea sit at the top of the Premier League table by a decent amount as well, right? So that does also prove that Chelsea are a good team, that a good team going forward, right? They can score goals, they can create chances, and Jackson this season, his finishing has improved a lot more. I have to give credit to him as well, because last season he'd be getting into a lot of good positions and be missing chances, whereas this season he is being a lot more efficient and a lot more clinical. So yeah, I just think Jackson is a really nice option. Of course, he is on 4 yellow cards, which is a bit annoying, so there is always that burden, I guess, you're going to carry. There's always going to be a chance where he's going to miss the next game. However, I just don't think it's a big enough reason to not go for Nicholas Jackson. I don't think the 4 yellow cards is a big enough reason, and if you're in a position where you've got a good playing fifth midfielder, then it's not too bad at all, because whenever that time comes where Jackson does get that 5th yellow card and he misses a game, at least you'll be in a position where you've got a 5th midfielder that can just come in when you need him, right? So yeah, I just think Nicholas Jackson is a good option. And then we do have Jørgen Strand Larsen, and the reason why I've gone for Strand Larsen is simply just for the short term, right? The next 2 game weeks, I think I know Wolves are like out of form and they're not really performing well this season. However, the next 2 games on paper are really, really good. Ipswich at home and Leicester away. So look, if you're looking for like a differential, I think Jurgen Strand Larsen could be that player. He's a cheap option, 5.6 million. He's only owned by 4.4% of managers in the game. So he's a massive, massive differential. And I think, look, if you're in a situation where your rank's pretty low at the moment, you need a differential to help gain rank, then maybe Strand Larsen could be that guy with these 2 fixtures coming up, Ipswich at home and Leicester away. So yeah, that's why I do like him. If you've got that sort of luxury transfer, right? If you're in a position where you've got 4 or 5 free transfers and you can just, you know, you can take a gamble on a player, I'd be taking a gamble on Strand Larsen. So that's my opinion. I think the next 2 fixtures on paper are really, really good. So yeah, that's why I am sort of recommending Strand Larsen, because he's a massive differential with 2 brilliant fixtures coming up. But as I said, I do want to make it clear, this is literally just sort of a luxury transfer, a short-term pick. If you're in a position where you can afford to sort of take a gamble on a player, then I would take that gamble on Strand Larsen. So yeah, that's my opinion on him. And then we also do have João Pedro, who I think is a good long-term pick. I know he's not been performing. It's funny, we all go to put Brighton attackers and João Pedro in our teams, and lo and behold, he doesn't perform, right? He doesn't get any goals, he doesn't get any assists. He's blanked in the last 3 Premier League games. Well, he did get an assist against Fulham, but I still think we would have expected more from a player like João Pedro, given the fixtures that we bought him in for, right? Southampton at home, he blanked, only 1 assist against Fulham, and then he blanked against Leicester. Now, do I think he's a bad option? No, I still think he's a good pick, given the fact that Brighton have some good fixtures. Palace at home, West Ham away, and Brentford at home still to come up. West Ham defensively are poor, Brentford defensively are poor, and Palace overall are just a poor team this season. So look, next 3 games on paper are really good for João Pedro. I like him. We know he's going to start games. The minutes are looking a bit dodgy, I'm not going to lie, right? 70 minutes against Leicester, 79 minutes against Fulham, 71 minutes against Southampton. However, he is just coming back from injury, guys. So I think we have to remember that. He is just coming back from injury. I think, you know, at the start of the season, he was getting, you know, really, really good minutes, you know, 81, 90 and 90. And that's when he was fully fit. So I will say, when he is sort of fully fit, I expect him to get 90 minutes. So with that being said, I think that makes him a good long-term hold, because I just think the long-term fixtures are really, really good. I mean, the hardest fixture he's got really is the Arsenal home game. Other than that, the long stretch of fixtures are so good, and because he's so cheap, because he's on penalties, I just think it makes him a good option. So for me, I wouldn't be worried on João Pedro. If you got him, you keep him. If you don't have him, I still think you look to buy him. I still think he provides good value at his price. So yeah, that is my opinion on João Pedro. Let me know what you guys think of that down below in the comments. But with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to the next players. Alright guys, so I wanted to talk to you about what to do with Gvardiol and Rico Lewis. Now, of course, first things first, with Rico Lewis, he does have the red card. So in my opinion, it's the perfect time to move off Rico Lewis, because look, first and foremost, right, you can't really trust the Man City defense. I think this season is going to be a season where Man City struggle. We're going to see inconsistencies with Manchester City, and I just don't think their assets can be trusted, especially their defenders, man. Like, they look like they're going to concede in every single game. They're giving up a lot of chances, and they're conceding a lot more goals than we would usually see Man City concede. So all in all, I don't think the Man City defense is good. And look, Rico Lewis, of course, is going to miss the next game. I think that's the perfect excuse. It's the perfect reason to get rid of Rico Lewis and the Man City defenders. Now, I know you might say, look, with Gvardiol and Rico Lewis, you might say, well, look, why would I want to get rid of these players when the fixtures are good? And I do understand that. From game week 18, you've got Everton, Leicester, West Ham, Brentford, Ipswich. It's a good run of fixtures. So you might say, well, I want to keep my Man City defender, but I'm just going to be honest, based off what I've seen so far this season, I don't even think Man City get 2 out of... I could maybe see them getting 1 clean sheet in across these games, right? I just can't see Man City really getting clean sheets now. And I just think at Rico Lewis's price point and at Gvardiol's price point, I think there are better options for you to get, right? I think there are better options to get, and that's the main thing for me, is I think you can replace these players with much better FPL options. So first things first, with Gvardiol, I know he gives you the attacking threat, right? But he doesn't give you that clean sheet security. And also with Rico Lewis and Gvardiol, they are a bit of a minutes risk as well, in my opinion. They will start more times than not. I do believe that. However, they also do have the risk of being dropped. And again, with other players, for example, let me say this, right? So with Gvardiol, 6.2 million, you can get a Liverpool defender, you can get a Van Dijk, a Trent, right? And with Rico Lewis, you can get like a Timber, maybe not really a Timber, right? That's a bit more expensive, but maybe like a Cucurella or a Levi Colwill, depending on how much money you've got in the bank, right? But they're in the same sort of price bracket. Now, with Gvardiol, right, yes, he's got that attacking threat. However, so does Van Dijk from set pieces. So does Trent. But also, Trent and Van Dijk have the minutes security, right? And they also have a good fixture run. But also, they've got the clean sheet security as well. So I just feel like they tick a lot more boxes than Gvardiol. And the same applies for Cucurella, for example, as opposed to Rico Lewis. I think he ticks a lot more boxes, right? The minute security is there. We know that he's going to start games. The fixture run for Chelsea is really, really good. And I think defensively, with the fixture that Chelsea have, they'll get more clean sheets than Man City, because defensively they look a lot better than Man City do. And I know that Sanchez is a big liability, but for me still, I prefer the Chelsea defense over a Man City defender. So look, when you look at it like from that perspective, I just think it makes sense to move off Rico Lewis and Gvardiol, right? And as I said, I'd be looking at sort of Cucurella or Levi Colwill as a replacement for Rico Lewis. I'd be looking at Trent, Van Dijk, Gabriel, Saliba, Timber as replacements for Gvardiol. I think those Liverpool and Arsenal defenders are a lot better than Gvardiol, a lot more reliable than Gvardiol. And I just think, yeah, with the fixture runs that both Arsenal and Liverpool have as well, it's better than Man City's fixture run. I just think it makes sense to go for one of these players. So whether it's a Trent or Van Dijk, that's up to you. Whether it's a Timber, a Saliba or Gabriel, that's up to you. But I would be genuinely looking at these players, these Arsenal defenders and Liverpool defenders, to replace Gvardiol, because I just think they're a lot better picks than Gvardiol and the Man City defense in general. So yeah, that is my opinion. I would be looking to move off Gvardiol and Lewis. That's my honest opinion. Alright guys, so I quickly wanted to talk to you guys about Enzo Fernandez, because this is a man in great form. He's been scoring and assisting in a lot of games for Chelsea recently, and as you guys can see, since the Arsenal game, he scored or assisted in every single game up until now. So he assisted against Arsenal, he got 1 goal, 1 assist against Leicester, then a goal versus Villa, then an assist versus Southampton, and then a goal versus Spurs. So we can see that he is in great form. Now I guess the question is this a fluke, or has there been like a tactical tweak from Maresca and Chelsea? And I do think it's the latter. I do think there has been a tactical tweak, and I think that is the reason for Enzo's good attacking form and his attacking output, right? I think we're seeing Enzo operate a lot more higher up, sort of a lot higher up in the pitch, and also he's making those late runs into the box, and he's always in and around the penalty area, and I think that's why he's getting the goals and assists that he's getting at the moment, right? I think we see sort of Enzo, we see sort of Palmer operating as like a right-sided 10, and I think Enzo's operating as like an advanced 8/10, and I think that's why he's scoring and assisting at the rate he is at the moment. So I do think, look, with the fixtures coming up, right, with the fixtures that Chelsea do have, I do think that makes him a great option if this I do think this does continue, and for that reason I do think it makes him a good option. And also with Enzo Fernandez, you've got the set pieces, the long free kicks, and the corners as well. So he's got the set pieces, he's got the minutes, he's got the starts, and he's got the form. And with this sort of tactical tweak from Maresca, with Enzo operating in this more advanced role, I do think sort of the goal contributions can continue. I generally do believe that they will continue if he does play in this advanced role that he's been playing at the moment. So look, I do think Enzo Fernandez could be a decent option. He's a massive differential, 4.7% ownership. He is slightly gone on the radar. I don't think many people are paying attention to Enzo Fernandez. He is only priced at 5 million as well. So look, very cheap, and for what he can offer at his price, I don't see why he's not a good option. I really don't. So look, for me, I think this does continue. I think he will continue to operate in this more advanced role, and for that reason, I think he remains a pretty decent option for FPL. That is my honest opinion, and I never really thought I would be talking about Enzo Fernandez for FPL. I never thought that, but when you compare his positioning to last season, right, under Poch, he was more of like a deep lying playmaker, right, playing next to Caicedo last season under Poch. However, this year, I think Maresca has sort of changed his role, as I said, and he's operating more advanced, making those late runs into the box, and that's how we saw his goal against Villa. That's how we saw his goal against Leicester, because he's making those runs into the box, and he wasn't really doing that last season under Poch. As I said, he was playing more and operating more as a deep line playmaker, and we're not really seeing that from Enzo now. We're seeing sort of Lavia pick up the ball from deep. We're seeing Caicedo pick up the ball from deep, but we're seeing Enzo Fernandez receive and pick up the ball in much higher positions, which of course is going to make him a much better option for FPL. So I think that's the reason for his sort of attacking output, and I think that actually does make him a pretty decent option. So yeah, let me know down below in the comments though, what do you guys think of Enzo Fernandez as an FPL asset? So next up we do have Jarrod Bowen, and I really do like him as an option. I think he's a great differential, and that's why I've included him in this video. Only 6.8% ownership, costing just 7.4 million. I think he is a good differential to own, especially for the next 3 game weeks, right, where he's got Bournemouth away from home, Brighton at home, and Southampton away. I think these next 3 games on paper are really good, especially that Brighton at home and Southampton away game. Brighton are really poor defensively. They concede a lot of chances, they concede a lot of goals, and the same can be said for Southampton as well. So especially for those 2 games, I really do like Bowen as an option. Of course, the Bournemouth away game is slightly tougher. However, I still do think Bowen is a good option for that week, right? So look, if you're going to get Bowen, I'll be getting him now. I think this is a good entry point, right, for the next 3 games, because after that, right, after the Southampton game, I think he's then got Liverpool at home and then City away. So you probably wouldn't want to have Bowen for that, even though after those 2 games he's got Fulham and Palace. So there is an argument to be said, depending on your team setup, depending on your team structure, that you could actually keep Bowen through this run of Liverpool and City if you're in a position where you can bench him and then play him for Fulham at home and Palace at home. But if you're in a situation where you couldn't really rotate him in and out of the team, then you can just simply get rid of him after the Southampton game. However, I do like Bowen as a differential. I do think he can provide good value. As I said, 1 goal, 1 assist in the last game against Wolves. And look, if you guys are watching this and you were in that watch long we did on the stream, then a massive shout out to you guys, because he was my captain for that Wolves game, and that was an absolutely crazy watch long. I enjoyed it a lot. But look, with that being said, yeah, I do like Bowen. And look, he did play striker in the last game against Wolves, and is that because Antonio was out? I'm not too sure. Maybe Danny Ings does come into the side, I'm not too sure, right? But look, Antonio isn't with this squad, of course, and you know, hopefully Antonio does get better. Hopefully he does recover well. But look, while Antonio is out, that does open up a door for Bowen to be played in that number 9 role. Whether that continues, I'm not sure. I don't know. I would kind of think that maybe Danny Ings, you know, comes into the side. I'm not really sure. But look, if he does, you know, play in that number 9 role for the remainder of the season, there's an argument to be made that does make him a much better option as well. So yeah, we've seen sort of Bowen last season under David Moyes playing that number 9 role, and he did really well there. He scored a lot of goals there. So Bowen is capable. He's good enough to play in that number 9 role as well. And another thing that I love about Bowen, it's just the guarantee, man. The security of minutes again. You know, he's a 90-minute man. He plays. He's a guaranteed starter. He plays every single minute of every single game, so you don't have to worry about that. So yeah, for me, I just like that a lot. And also, he's on penalties depending on who's on the pitch. Like if Paqueta's on the pitch, then of course Bowen won't take penalties. However, if Paqueta's on the bench or he's not involved with the squad and he's not on the pitch at the time, I do expect Bowen to be on penalties as well. So yeah, he also does take one of the corners for West Ham as well, and that's how he did get his assist in the last game against Wolves. I think there's a lot of positives to Bowen, and he's a massive differential. That's why I do like him as well. So yeah, for me, I like Bowen as a short-term option, but also as a long-term option if you're able to rotate him in and out of the team, like I did say. So yeah, that's my opinion on Jarrod Bowen. I think the underlying data as well is not too bad. He's got 0.21 expected goals per 90 and 0.26 expected assists per 90, which isn't too bad. Overall, that's just 0.47 expected goal involvement per 90. So yeah, that's not really too bad at all. I think Bowen is a pretty decent differential. But with that being said, guys, that is going to be it for today's Transfer Talks video. I really do hope you enjoyed, and if you did, make sure you do smash a big thumbs up on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on post notifications so you never miss an upload. And guys, I will catch you in the next one. But until then, I'm out. Peace.